Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in doing the lovely Brie design by Sheryl Steele as we gather up some disc duos and mini diamond duos to create this lovely ensemble. So the Brie necklace is based on components. We're going to be making a total of 7 individual components and then stringing them together. Depending on how you want to string them together, wear them as earrings or even make them into a bracelet or a more straight down design, you can change it up. So to start, for each component, we're going to be using 5 disc duos, and I'm using the Zinc Iris color, and then the pastel burgundy in the mini diamond duo. And we're also going to use 5 of these to create our little pattern. So our little wheels here are created by adding a diamond duo, 15, diamond duo mini, 15, mini, 15, and we're picking up 5 of these. I'm putting them on 0.006 wildfire beading thread, and I have a size 12 beading needle. Each component is going to take about 12 inches of thread, but you want a little bit more than that, so that way you don't have to constantly rethread your needle. Go ahead if you want to, start out with about 5 feet, and by the time you tie off, sew off, and string off, it'll get you about 3 or so components. Letting all of these drop down, you're going to make sure that you face them all the same way. The diamond duos and diamond duo minis here, they have a little fake kind of point to them, so you're making sure that they're all facing up. I'm going to take the end of the thread, leaving about 2 inches, and simply tie a knot to make this go into a circle. Now sometimes you'll do a stop bead, sometimes you'll just kind of hold the thread. I want to do a knot and pull it nice and tight because we're going to be gluing in our O bead there, if you so choose. So that way I don't want it to open up at all. From here, I'm going to sew through my next diamond duo because I ended with a 15, pulling the thread in and that knot in a tiny bit. Take your thread and needle and we're going to reverse up from the bottom hole or the inner hole of that diamond duo mini to the upper outer hole. We're now going to go through and pick up our disc duos, which are not sided, so you don't have to worry about picking up the correct size, and going through one hole of the disc duo and then sewing through the next hole of the diamond duo mini. Sewing through, just make sure as much as possible that it sits right inside that little point there to create our nice little floral look. Going around the circle, you're going to repeat this 5 times. Now if you're a more advanced beader, you can see how you could attach these together right away rather than doing them as each individual components. I'm going to do them as each individual components since there are so many uses for this design. Going in then, after you add your last disc duo, I want you to sew through the first hole of the first disc duo that you added. Give a nice tight pull there to make sure you don't have tons of extra thread showing. And now what we're going to do is step up, just like we did on the diamond duo mini, from that bottom hole to the outer hole. This is your opportunity again to give a nice tight pull on the thread, not the needle. You always want to do the thread because you don't want to fray the thread that's inside the eye of the needle. From here, we're going to add 2 seed beads and go and attach to the top of our diamond duo mini. So we're coming out the outer hole of the disc duo, adding 2 15-0 seed beads in the Duracoat galvanized gold, go through my upper hole of my diamond duo mini that's beside it, add 2 more seed beads, and catch on to the next one of my disc duos, again through that second hole. Continue this the whole way around, adding 2 beads, catching on to that top hole of the diamond duo, and what this will do is just have a little bit of extra design on the piece, helping it lay nice and connected. That way the disc duo does not turn and that upper hole is not empty. When you have it, push those 15s down towards the diamond duo so they sit right on top of the diamond duo. I'm going to repeat this the whole way around this individual component and then show you how we're going to sew back into the component in order to end our thread so we don't really see it in the back of each one of the designs. When you're finishing up going through your last of your DiscDuo, you add your 2 beads, kind of push them down. The thread's coming out the top of the DiscDuo. I'm going to flip the piece under or over so that way I can go right back down and downgrade from the top hole to the bottom hole of my DiscDuo. That's going to bring my thread and needle around the side of the DiscDuo, but because of those seed beads there, you're not going to see it. From here, go through the next Diamond Duo Mini. Wiggle your needle out. You can see I'm already to the back of the design. And then we're going to reverse the thread down to the first hole of the Diamond Duo Mini, through the seed bead there, and then I'm right at the point where my thread is. From here, I want to pull my 2 thread ends, the one that's attached to the needle and the one that was already there as the starter thread. I'm going to tie 1, 2 knots onto the piece, take my thread and needle, sew it back through the Diamond Duo, and give a tight little pull to pull it inside to the Diamond Duo. Grab your thread burners then, burn down the extra thread to the back of the design, one side and then the other side of the thread. You're going to repeat this for however many beads you want or components you want to make your necklace. So I have 7 completed right now. In the earrings that I'm wearing that Sheryl did, she just took it and actually did a little loop at the top and kept it as is. I'm going to go in and add these all together to show you how I would do the necklace chain for a little bit of glam, a little bit of glitz, and then we're also going to glue in the center of our O bead as well as our SS8 little tiny chaton to look like a nice setting in the interior of the component. So at this point, prior to stringing my necklace, I'm going to make sure that I get my O beads and my crystals to sit nice and in the middle if you want to add those. I have here a little piece of paper so that way I don't glue onto my bead mat by accident, and I'm using the Loctite super glue. This is perfect because it has little sections on the side here that you press down so you can get it nice and tight onto the design and in a small section. I'm going to paint the interior or the tips here of my Diamond Duo Minis. So I'm squeezing just a little bit, and I'm just putting a tiny dab on each one of the tips. I'm doing 2 or 3 of these at a time because the Loctite does dry fairly fast, but I can work and usually do about 2 or 3 prior to that. So you can see I put the little bit of glue there. Next, what I'm going to do is glue in my O beads. So I have my little picker up here, and I'm going to just drop the O bead right in there. I'm using the metallic mix or the Purple Iris Gold O bead because it has a lot of variety, and because I only need a couple, it's a good mix to get. As you see them in there, and if you need to kind of move it into place, you can pick up the back of your pickup artist and kind of push those down. I'm going to leave those a couple seconds to set. Then what I'm going to do is drop in another dab of glue into the top. Pick up, again with my crystal artist here, my little tiny SS8 Chatons. Let's do our glue in the middle, basically filling that hole. Pick up my little tiny crystal with my tool, get in close, and drop that right into place. So again, pick it up, drop it in. And if you need to, I was asking Sheryl for any words of advice prior to this, and she said, a little bit of spit in your finger. I said, well, I'm going to use the pickup artist, but I get you. After they're done, Sheryl did say what she did is flipped them over then and added just a little dab of glue to the back as well to go through the design to make sure that they stayed on. And then they add that beautiful little crystal look to the actual component. If you want to then make sure that you get them all done and done correctly before you make a glue mess, before you go in and string them all onto your necklace. As you continue your project and once it's dried, it's ready to go ahead and create the actual necklace portion for it to sit on. So what I did is I created a 16-inch necklace featuring the diamond duos in the middle of the design. I have 16 inches strung by the time I add my cut button and then an extender loop, then I will have more of an 18 inch. For the first 4 inches, I'm doing 10 seed beads followed by an O bead, my 2mm crystal in my apricot color, 10 seed beads, O bead, crystal, 10 seed beads. I'm doing that 6 times, and then as I get to the center, after the 6th one of the O bead sets, I have 3 11-Os, 1 15-O, my diamond duo, 15-O, 2 11s, 15, and then I do a series of 3 crystals that are separated out by an O bead, and then basically repeating it. 15, 2 11s, 15, back to the diamond duo mini. So as you're stringing it, you want to make sure that these are all facing one direction. And then you're going to string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 of your diamond duos, your diamond duo minis, which is going to get you enough so that way you can put on and attach these all at the bottom of the piece. Once you have on 7 or 8 of them, depending on how many of the components you want to add on, you're going to get ready to string the bottom section of the components. Now this is completely up to you. If you wanted to, you could have done a single strand and just sew them right in there. You can do the double strand and have them, the 8 components that you can work on with the diamond duos hanging out. It's kind of up to you how you want to go about actually stringing it. But I'm going to go through and I am going to be adding my little pendant pieces here right underneath of my diamond duo minis. The diamond duo minis are going to sit here and connect to the bottom of my actual disc duo when I'm working on it. To start out at the end of my 16-inch piece, I have my cut button here. I'm going to add my last couple seed beads, go up through my cut button. When I'm up through the cut button at the end here, and this is a new piece of thread that I did. If you have some left over, that's awesome. I'm going to do an 11 O bead, 2mm round apricot, O bead, 11. I don't bother to put the 15s next to the O beads because they'll swallow them because they have a bigger hole. Coming down then, you're going to go through the opposite end of the button, and those beads are just going to kind of sit in the middle, decorating it as you go. Coming down the back of the button then, I want you to add 10 more seed beads. And once you have those 10 seed beads done, you're going to string back through the O bead all the way back till you come out the O bead right before your diamond duo. To start to add in your components now, after you string back through that strand of beads, and you can see how I did the extra beads along the top here and then shared the needle back through. When you're coming out your last section of your O bead and your crystal, sew through the O bead, add 3 of your 11s just like on the top, and then to make our nice swaying kind of swooping base, you're going to add 2 15s. Coming out of our diamond duo mini, again 2 15s, then you're going to do 1 11, 1 crystal, 1 15, and then you're going to sew through the top of one of your components. From here coming out, you're going to want to do 1 15, 1 11, 1 15, 1 crystal, 1 11, 2 15s, and sew through the next of your diamond duo minis. That's going to allow that to hang down right there so it sits perfectly centered underneath your O bead section. You're going to do this again, adding in 2 15s, then 1 11, 1 crystal, 1 15, sew through your next component. Repeat that pattern of 15, crystal, 11, followed by 2 15s, and on to the next diamond duo mini. You can see how this is going to have it hang down in between the diamond duos as you're wearing it on your neck. I'm going to continue doing this and adding it to the next of my 7, or the total of my 7 components there. You can really change this up, have fun with the design, have fun with the pattern of stringing this on to the end. Once I get to the end, after I get all my components on, I'm going to show you how we're going to make loops at the other end, but instead of just one loop, we're going to make 2 loops, so that way you have it that it can be changed to different lengths as you're wearing it. When you get to the end of the project, what you're going to do is add your last couple seed beads. So I have on 6 there. I'm going to add 4 more, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is after coming out of the last diamond duo, adding in your 2 15s, your 3 11s, and then sewing back up through all that line of beads. I have my stop bead there on the side, and I'm just going to push that over to the side. Add one of my crystals. Then I want you to string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 beads. Add another crystal. And now you're going to sew another grouping of your 11 seed beads. Dump out a couple more there. Clean up your bead mat, adding about 28 beads. And once you have these beads on your thread and needle, this is going to be my outer loop, or my second loop along my basic extension chain for my piece. So I have all my beads on. I make sure that they're big enough to go along my cut button. That's where that 28 number comes in. And then what I'm going to do is sew back through that first crystal. So I have my 28 beads on. I'm sewing back through that first crystal and just through the crystal. You can see that makes my outer loop. Then I'm going to add 14 more 11-Os. And then once I add those 14 to make it match on the other side, I'm going to sew through the next crystal back. Now you can take your thread and needle back up the project and reinforce it, but now you have 2 loops for your button to sit inside of. So if you want to wear it here at the end, or you can go a little bit higher up if you want it to sit closer up on your neck. From here, I'm going to take my thread and needle back down to that starter thread and simply take off that stop bead, tie the 2 thread ends together. Once those 2 thread ends are tied together, if you want to, you can reinforce the necklace, taking the thread and needle the whole way back through the project, going up into your loops that you made for your clasp, going through that top section of your piece, and reinforcing the button on the other side. Keep in mind, as I was saying earlier, you can change up how you hang these components and what you use them for a ton. If you're not into the crystals in the middle, keep them off like Sheryl did for her earrings. If you want to make them double-sided, you can use a different bead. Try some Super Duo minis, try some Super Duos, try out some different design ideas where you're going and making these individual components for your necklace. Thanks so much to Sheryl and to you for joining me in making her Brie design. Remember, you can do this as an individual component for a set of earrings, omitting the crystal. You can do it as a necklace, use the components to stack up and down, or even as a bracelet. There's so much variety that you can do by just changing up how you add these components together. Remember, if you haven't already, comment below and say any switch up questions or comments that you have about the video. It really helps to build this beading community and to help others become better beaders. As always, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe in the corner so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. If you do need any materials, you can check out our website and shop with us online. Thanks so much for joining me. Thank you again to Sheryl, and enjoy your Brie necklace.